So like if you've never trained, a lot of people think that like, they know how to pull out a gun, they know how to put it on target, and they know how to shoot. And they do that like 10 times, however often during the year, and they're like, yeah, I'm good. If something happens, like I'll be fine. But as soon as stress is introduced and all of a sudden like there's uncertainty in the situation and now you have to start to filter out like the right thing to do and in which order, like if you don't have fundamentals there, then you're not going to be able to do much of anything. I mean, most people will probably end up paralyzed in that situation. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but at least now I know, like, having done it thousands of times, like what it's like to draw your pistol from the holster, what it's like to get it in front of your body, press it out, acquire your sights or your optic, and then actually pull the trigger, and then do the post-shooting drill of like looking to your right and to your left to make sure that there aren't any other threats. So those are the kinds of things that like people should do, and more than anything, it's just like the reason why.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Patriot on Purpose. Today is another solo episode where Adam and I are going to kind of dive into our concealed carry in EDC, kind of what we carry each day, why. Love to create some dialogue around this, hear from our viewers and subscribers as well. So that'll be just a couple of the things that we talk about today.
Yeah. I think part of the reason that we're even talking about this is, Patriot on Purpose is a podcast, but it is just kind of the front-facing part of our company. It's you and I, the owners and partners in this company, talking about what matters to us, but what pays the bills, what even allows us to run this podcast, are the sales of a holster and accessory components to that product or that brand, which is Vanish, VNSH. And of course, we have our survival company. We've got Pain Safari, which is our non-lethal self-defense weapons brand. I can't even talk right now. And of course, like most of the sales that we make come from Vanish. So Vanish is a belly band style holster that allows for you to carry 99% of the modern modern handguns out there. Plus, you carry 2 additional magazines. You can do that without a belt because it has a built-in belly band. And it's been wildly popular since we've launched it back in December of 2022. I was actually going to run the numbers today, but I'd like to say we've probably sold around 130, maybe 140,000 holsters in the past 17 months. So, about 10,000 holsters every single month.
That's awesome. It's definitely a need out there. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the Vanish holster is actually what got me into carrying, but truth be told, it wasn't the Vanish holster. So we can probably give some context as to how Vanish came around. There is another belly band style holster out there. I'm not going to name the company because they're currently selling their product. But for a while, we were managing the marketing for that company. And we were going to be doing a deal with them. And I think that anybody who has seen some ads in the past 2 years may be able to pick up on who the company is. But the deal, for the lack of a better word, fell through, so we decided not to go forward with it. And so, it was a good holster. It was a belly band style holster just like ours. And the reason that ever even mattered to me is because I'm the kind of guy who wears sweatpants and shorts all day long. I mean, right now, yeah, I have a collar shirt on, but I have a pair of gym shorts on with a drawstring. So if I were to go out in public, it's like I don't have a belt. I'm not going to be able to carry a gun. And so that holster, yeah, it kind of got me into carrying. And then when we had to design our own, I was like, well, I can make it even more comfortable and I can continue carrying, which I didn't do for 38 years of my life because I never found a holster that worked.
Yeah, no, that was not a problem exclusive to you. That's for sure.
Yeah. What's your EDC right now? Right now, because we know it could change at
yep.
any moment.
Yeah. Right now, my EDC is a Glock 19. I didn't start with Glocks. I started with a Ruger LC9 years ago. Like I wanted something that was back when imprint laws were more strict in Texas. I went with like a single stack. I didn't like it. It was super snappy. I just didn't like the way the gun felt small in my hands. I had to buy like one of those, longer extended clips to be able to to shoot comfortably with it. That worked for a little bit. Then I switched to the XDS, the Springfield XDS 4.5. So the 45 single stack. I liked that one a lot more. So I rocked that one for a while, and I actually still have it. I just don't still carry it anymore. It's for the weight of it and the limited round capacity. Like for me, I there's an argument for having 17 rounds like is overkill. Like for a concealed carry, you're probably never ever going to need that. But I'd rather have the higher round count and never need it than to need it and not have it. But I've liked the Glock 19. It's been a great shooting gun for me. I am considering the this one of the staccatos right now. But I don't know. This has always been good to me. It shoots well. Like I also run a Trijicon red dot on it. Um, that works really well for me. I'm actually right-handed and left eye dominant,
Me too.
so the red
So
dot helps me out a lot on that front. And I didn't really truly discover that until I was like I'd been shooting rifles for years and I've never had a problem, shooting through the optic with the right eye. But when I started shooting with the pistol and having to be able to do that effectively, that's where that snuck up on me. So I carry so that's what I carry is the Glock 19. If I'm wearing jeans, like so prior to becoming one of the partners over here at Vanish and all of the companies that we have, I run the TRX like Kydex a lot. If I'm wearing jeans and a belt, but like I do like you, I run around a lot too, like in joggers and gym shorts, and so I too also have the Vanish holster. So I run that one as well. And if we're going to talk about other EDC, I also typically always have on my in close to me. I carry multiples in my truck. Pretty much have them in every bag. I always have a tourniquet with me in the event that would ever be needed. Much more likely to be needed for something else. And so I think it's just good to have them on hand. I travel with them. You just never know when you're going to need to be able to stop the bleed for somebody or yourself. So carry that. And then, I mean, so are we talking about all the EDC? We're just going to go keep going, talk about all of it, or
well, I mean, we can. I think the going back to the point of round capacity. So I wanted to talk about
yeah,
that for a second because
let's do it.
this little Kimber right here, it's a 7+1. One of the cool things about the Vanish holster is it does allow for you to carry two additional magazines. I think the argument for round capacity is not a moot point. I think that there's valid arguments for having more and having less, right? When I think about carrying, I think about what can I shoot better. So I've got this. I've got a Glock 19 right over here. I've got a Shadow Systems MR 920 Elite just over here. I'll pull that out in a
Nice.
second. I shoot the Shadow Systems really well. The only thing that I don't like about it is it's just a bigger gun than this. And I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'9", 160 pounds, and my geometry or the shape of my body makes it so that like carrying those kinds of guns, I print a little bit more than most. Like that's just how it is. So I carry a
Yeah.
smaller gun, but I can shoot this way, way better than I can shoot a polymer striker fired weapon. And that's why I too would love to get a Staccato.
Yeah.
The lead time on them is 25 minutes. So, or 25 minutes, 25 weeks. You can just order it and ship right to you. But yeah, I wanted to
That's right.
comment on round capacity because I think that if you carry 45 rounds on you, so you've got two mags as well as a mag that's in your gun and then maybe a +1, but you can't shoot for crap, it doesn't really matter. Whereas if you
Yep.
have a
I
gun,
agree with that.
yeah, if you have a gun that has minimal capacity, so like a 45, just like this, only 7 rounds, but you can shoot it lights out, then that's a better gun for you to carry. And then the other thing I was going to
Yeah.
say is like you wear a Kydex holster when you're not wearing a Vanish holster. I think that this is something that people don't understand is like you can be the owner in a company like Vanish and have different products and still think that your product is a rock solid option. I think about that all the time,
Absolutely.
right? Like if you're the president of Ford, you probably have a really nice luxury car that's not a Ford or, like
It's
any other
quite
company.
possible.
Yeah. So I think that there's other situations where you can get away from wearing a Vanish holster. Like I train, I shoot 200 rounds a week, every single week, and I do not take the Vanish holster with me to train shooting. And part of the reason why is like I just am not going to be drawing and reholstering with the Vanish holster. Now, I can practice at home reholstering if I need to, or drawing from the holster if I need to, and not have to discharge the firearm. But if I'm going to just go ahead and try and present really quickly and do it over and over and over again, then I'm just going to use a Kydex holster, which is
Yep.
I'm not going to give the brand that I have because people are going to say something, but I have a Kydex holster right here, and I use that at the range when I go and try and train for drills because that's going to be a much better option for me at the range, Vanish holster, all the other times that I'm out there. So that's all. Yeah, I wanted to mention that too.
Yeah, well, I think it's it's different. It's different tools for different reasons, right? I mean, it's just how like there's different types of hammers. There's different tools for different jobs. I mean, so well, I was sharing with you the other day that I was over at my buddy's place, who's a retired Navy SEAL, and one of his partners in a new business is a SWAT team member, and he saw the Vanish holster and he thought it was freaking amazing. Like, so it's but it would probably only be in certain scenarios where like that would be the right holster
Right.
for where he was saying, oh, this is great because it would be for this application. Like when I'm carrying at church, and I'm wearing my jeans and and I wear the normal belt that I wear, like I'm gonna be rolling the Kydex. But like if I'm just like between here and the gym, and I'm like going down. We do a lot of festivals in town, and as it gets hotter in the summer, like I'll stop carrying the Kydex, like because I won't be wearing my jeans, I'll be wearing shorts, and I will absolutely start rocking the Vanish, more regularly, and it's for different uses. So I mean that makes all the sense. Well, and I agree with you on the round count. It's that the Springfield XDS that I have, like I shoot that gun extreme well. I shoot the Glock just as well. But that takes a little more work. Like I actually have
Yeah.
to practice more for me to be more zeroed in with my Glock than I do with the XTS. And I just do like the Glock more at this point. But that's a really valid point. And I don't know, the 45 is also just a really smooth shooting gun.
It is.
I don't think I've shot a 45 that I didn't like.
Yeah, provided that you have a good one. So this is an
Yeah.
interesting thing too, right? So I carry this, which is chambered in 45, but hold on one second. I have the exact same model chambered in 9. Why would I do that?
Nice.
Well, I
Yeah.
train with this one at the range. The only difference here is not in size, it's just going to be in felt recoil. It's pretty much the exact same gun. But now I can go ahead
I was,
and train with this and do it for half the price of
I was gonna
this.
say it's a lot
So
cheaper to
much
train with
cheaper.
that one.
Yeah, so I can get all of the same kind of manipulation with the weapon that I would training with the 45, but I'm just able to do it for cheaper. And I think that's again a really important thing. And I can shoot the Glocks really well now. It took thousands and thousands of rounds to be able to do that. I can leave these guns at home, not train with them at the range, and bring them out 3 or 4 weeks after not touching them and be able to shoot just as well as I did the week or like the month before. But if I go a week or two off of the striker fired guns and then try and shoot them again, it takes a little bit to learn how to or not learn, but how to relearn how to shoot them because they're just a different kind of weapon. And I think most of it comes down to the trigger system. These triggers, like anybody who's ever shot a 1911 just knows how great these triggers are. They're so easy to shoot. I mean, they don't quite catch you by surprise, but they're just such a crisp action that you're going to get a more predictable shot than you are with a striker fired weapon with that kind of a trigger system. So
Yeah.
yeah, and again,
I dig it.
yeah. So
I want to
anyways,
see the shadows. I want to see the shadow systems.
okay,
Let's see that one.
all right. So Shadow Systems here. Got it in my stop box because I just took it
Nice.
with me on our trip. So this is what I sleep with by the bed now. So it's got the Surefire X300 Turbo on there. Then I've got a Holosun
Nice.
green dot. All right.
That's the other one that I'm looking at right now is the shadow systems.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, this is basically a Glock clone. It's pretty much the exact same thing as a Glock 19. Obviously not made by Glock. It's got an enhanced trigger. It has a slide that's been milled out. It's got all the texture for easy chambering of the round or like press checking and all that kind of stuff. It's got a fluted barrel. It has the ability to add, you've got a threaded barrel protector right here. So if you ever want to
Yeah, for
add
suppressor.
for a suppressor, it's got suppressor height irons. Blah. Don't even know why I can't talk. It's got an extended mag release. Just basically everything that you would spend a lot of money to turn a Glock 19 into a Gucci gun, you get right here out of the box for like maybe $900. And I mean, the game changer with this to me was the holographic sight. As soon as you get a red dot
Yeah.
like that, I mean, it changes how changes shooting. And I never
Yeah.
realized that until I started shooting a green dot or a red
It's
dot.
yeah. It's no. It's yeah. That was my experience as well. When I switched to that, it was my patterns got a lot tighter and a lot more on target.
Yeah, so another reason I don't carry this right now, and this is what we're currently developing a new version of the Vanish holster called the Hero. I have, if you're able to see this watching the video, this is a sandpaper grip. So let's see if we can get that to focus. So it literally feels like 220
Yep.
grit sandpaper on there. So if I'm wearing this and I'm carrying in the 4 o'clock position and this starts to rub on my back, it's not as comfortable as, say, this wood scaled grip handle right here
Mm-hmm.
on the Kimber. So while we're developing something new, I'm not carrying this. Plus, this light easily taken off is something I want to keep on here. So this does not fit inside of the Vanish holster currently. It will on the Hero. So that's another thing too about this. But I would say like if I was to
Nice.
take any gun to battle, it's absolutely going to be this one right here because it shoots amazingly well. And with the dot, it is awesome.
Very slick. What else? Like, what else have you? What else have you played with, or what else do you like a lot? That's worth talking about.
Weapon wise, I think that like you mentioned, staccatos are great. Past that, I haven't really. I mean, I've kind of messed around with some Springfields, messed around with some other weapons, but nothing that crazy. I mean, honestly, like I didn't find myself starting Vanish because I was like a huge gun guy. As much as I do like guns now, like it was more just a matter of necessity. Like I needed a holster that I could actually use with the guns that I had. But I do like the idea of having a staccato or basically any 2011. So something with a double stack 9 millimeter with a 1911 frame is going to be pretty awesome because you get that trigger, but you also get the round capacity. Of course, you're doing it at a premium price.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely are.
So,
Yeah,
anyways,
man. No, that sounds good.
yeah, getting back to your whole EDC because I think that you carry a lot more on you than I do personally whenever you're going out. So you said you have the tourniquet with you. You have what else do you carry in your holster when you're working it?
Yeah, I mean, so I pretty much only carry the extra mags. Um, in the Vanish, like I don't really put the tourniquet in there. I usually have that somewhere else on me. I do have a flashlight that that I'll sometimes put in the Vanish one. It's one of those little smaller flashlights. I actually don't have that one here with me right now. But as far as the other stuff that I carry on me, it kind of depends on what I'm doing. So like my everyday carry knife, I like the Benchmade a lot. So I carry a Claymore, which I don't know. A lot of people think the spring loaded knives are unnecessary. Like I just enjoy them. I just think I've had a fascination with anything spring loaded since I was a kid. I can't remember. Gosh, what movie it was I saw. There was a movie I saw a long time ago. Had like a switchblade in or something like that. Now, ever since then, I've just had a fascination with those. Now, if I'm really going to do a lot of work where I'm really having to cut a lot of stuff, like I know I'm going to be out on the property or something, and I just really actually have to use the blade a lot, I carry an Emerson.
Okay.
This thing, this thing, I have used this. I've had this knife since 2017 or 18. I have never sharpened it, and it still has a blade, and I use it a lot. So I don't know what Emerson does different with their blade. I'd have to go back and look at it, but this thing has held an edge like you can't even believe. And it's got this cool little like tooth on it where when you pull out of the pocket, it automatically starts to pull it out,
Oh, cool. So it's like hooking
which is
on
kind of
the
cool.
seam of your pocket.
Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty cool. And then if I see, I had another one in here. Where'd it go? Or if I'm on the property, and I'm just dinking around. This is another Benchmade that I carry. I can't remember the name of this one. But it's got the nice little Tonto blade. It's got the serrated edge, so it's good for cutting, some of the different stuff. And then if I am doing a safety team at church, which is basically like our security team, I carry the Benchmade Infidel. Again, fascination with the spring loaded action, and this one's just to me this is for slicing and stabbing, so I just carry it for that purpose. Never had to use it. Hopefully, don't ever need to use it, but those are the different knives that I've got others, but those are the ones that I actually carry. And then I've got different reasons for doing it, but that's it. And then I've got, like I said, I've got a little streamlight flashlight that I will also rock sometimes, depending on if I think I'm going to be somewhere where I need it.
Yeah. So I usually carry two additional magazines when I'm using the Vanish holster. So again, like if I'm going to carry, that's pretty much the only holster that I use. I don't ever switch between Kydex and that. Don't carry a tourniquet with me normally. We're working on creating a tourniquet that's going to fit inside of the Vanish holster magazine pocket. It'd be a smaller one. This is under a new brand that we're starting called Prevail. So that's going to be something that I will start to use. When it comes to a knife, I have a Benchmade bug out over there. That's the one that I typically use just because it's lighter. No spring action. Sorry, Nate. It's not it requires a manual thumb release. Then I have a Kershaw Onion. So that one I really like. It's pretty. So I don't carry it around that much. Like if I know I'm gonna have to do something, like I don't know, cut open a box away from home, I'll use that. But the truth is, like, I actually don't use, I carry those knives like in the event that I'm gonna need one, but not really understanding if I will or not. At home, I'm not gonna lie, I just get those little husky razor blade things that you can pick up at Home
Yeah,
Depot.
heck yeah.
Yeah, and then I have a stack like this, a bunch of these DeWalt replacement razor blades. So I have like 500
Hmm.
replacement razor blades, and I just use those. I'd rather not have to put a like re-edge my knife as opposed, and I know I could send it into Benchmade, but then I wouldn't have my knife. So I just use those all the time because like I'm always cutting boxes or doing anything around the house, and like I don't care about a 30 cent. Nah, they're probably not even 30 cent. Probably like a 15 cent
Right.
razor blade that I can just rip through for a week and then dispose of. I think one of the things too
Yeah,
is,
it's just efficient.
yeah, it's efficient and it's cost savings because like Benchmades aren't cheap. So the last thing you want to do is
No.
thrash one of those blades.
Mm-mm.
But with knives, I don't have any skills with a knife that would actually make it useful for me in the event that something happened, like some kind of a violent situation. I'd just be like, well, this thing is pretty much, I mean, it's nice to have in case we ever got that close, but if somebody gets that close, I'm pretty much screwed. So this is my first and last line of defense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I doubt I'll ever need to use a knife in that capacity. I think I just have a fascination with them, so I like them. But
They
I
are
think what you're
fun.
saying makes complete sense.
Well, have you ever trained? I know
Yeah.
you roll a lot. Do you ever train with blades or edges?
Yeah, yeah, we've done that. We'll roll with like rubber knives. And then sometimes some of the training programs I've gone through, they actually have like the knives that also have like the taser component to it, where like you can zap somebody with that edge, let them know that you just actually slice them. So it makes those training sessions a little bit more intense.
Yeah. How strong is that
the
shot?
it's definitely not comfortable. It's nowhere near like what we have on the Shockwave torch. But it's enough to where like you don't want to get hit with it. Let's put it that way. You're not gonna convulse and not be able to like. You can still do what you're doing. It's just really just sucks.
Yeah, like back when your buddies used to like trick you to put your finger in the grill starter, like in the ignition
Yeah.
on your gas grill.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then you do. You're like, I don't regret that, but I don't think I'm going to do it again.
Yeah. I'm not gonna choose to do that over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but yeah, that's another good question to kind of shift to. I think we've talked about some of the stuff that we carry and use, but maybe shifting the conversation to training would be good.
I think that's
You
like
know,
the
you
most
you
important
you
thing. Honestly, like
yeah.
it's not the easiest thing, it's not the most cost effective thing, but I think when you commit to carrying, like and if you don't commit to training, you're not committing a sin. You're not doing anything wrong, but you're not giving yourself an advantage. So what
Right.
is it? It's a common aphorism within the military community that's like you're going to sink to the highest level or the lowest level of your training in
Yes.
a stressful situation. So like if you've never trained, a lot of people think that like they know how to pull out a gun, they know how to put it on target, and they know how to shoot, and they do that like 10 times, however often during the year, and they're like, yeah, I'm good. If something happens, like I'll be fine. But as soon as stress is introduced, and all of a sudden like there's uncertainty in the situation, and now you have to start to filter out like the right thing to do and in which order. Like if you don't have fundamentals there, then you're not going to be able to do much of anything. I mean, most people will probably end up paralyzed in that situation. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but at least now I know, like, having done it thousands of times, like what it's like to draw your pistol from the holster, what it's like to get it in front of your body, press it out, acquire your sights or your optic, and then actually pull the trigger, and then do the post shooting drill of like looking to your right and to your left to make sure that there aren't any other threats. So those are the kinds of things that like you people should do, and more than anything, it's just like the reason why. I think it's like, well,
Yeah.
why are you carrying in the first place? You want to be able to
Yeah.
effectively deliver rounds downrange on a target. So if you can't do that in the best of situations, you certainly can't do it in the hardest situation that you could ever imagine finding yourself in.
Man, when I went through Tim Kennedy's sheepdog response training, that was like one of the first things that he told us. That was that it was more likely most people just buy a lot of cool gear and a lot of cool guns, and they don't actually train. And like he said it would be better because I wish more people would just buy what they can afford and then actually spend the money on training. He goes, because the gun, while it can make a difference, it's not that big of a difference.
No.
Like if you practice and train and are disciplined in your training, like with just about any weapon, like you can be effective. So that was pretty, that was, and the fact that it was the one of the very first things that he said to us, like when he started that, that 2 day, 3 day, 2 day, that 2 day training program, that it was clearly important if it was one of the very first things he was going to talk about. So yeah, to your point.
So how often do you train if you're able to?
Yeah, so I mean, like I definitely practice. I practice doing my drawing from concealed like daily. I do a lot of dry fire drills. I will probably shoot like once a week. On the property. I've got I live out on 10 acres, so I'm able to just walk outside, and I've got a backstop and an area where it's safe for me to do that. So it's easy for me just to walk outside. But I've found the more that I do my dry fire drills, the more effective my actual shooting drills are when I'm actually out shooting. So like I've started to shift to more of doing that, and then I like to throw in the dummy rounds to practice clearing, doing things like that. And then the one thing that I haven't done yet that I know you do a lot of is like train with like the laser trainer system. And that was funny. I saw some of our ads the other day, and I saw some people, kind of being chippy about the laser system and how it's not an effective way of training. So I wanted to get your take on that, because from everything that I've actually read, it seems like it's actually a pretty intelligent way to train. I mean, if as long as the feedback you're getting, because I mean to me the most important shot that gets fired if you actually are really in a situation where you're having to draw your concealed carry and protect yourself or someone else, it's that first shot. And so I mean,
First or
if you
second?
can't even,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that like everything is imperfect, right? Like everybody wants to complain about a laser training system as being not all that great because it doesn't give you, you're not able to feel felt recoil from the gun, or maybe the laser isn't calibrated to a 100% accurate calibration. So like, like it's bore scoped, and so if you're shooting at the target, it's maybe like 1/10 of an inch or 1/20, I don't even know, like half of an inch off, right? And that's sure you can make an argument that that's not the best thing in the world. And I mean, sometimes like, especially with these little, they basically look like a round. There's a red laser in there, and if you drop it, it's going to lose its calibration. But you said it, and I think that this is the right way to look at it. It's like the most important thing you can do is like place that first or second round, because generally you're going to have to put 2 rounds on target as fast as you possibly can. And you want that quick feedback of being able to see where your round landed. And you don't get that with dry fire. I think with just normal dry fire, if you're using snap caps, it's really good for fundamentals. And I'm on so many calls. I just have a gun in my hand and I'm just doing dry fire because it's like I can
yeah,
talk and just get those fundamentals down. And we can talk about grip and how you're pulling the trigger and all that kind of stuff. And those are good things to focus on. I would suggest there's a book that I'll link in the show notes around shooting fundamentals or pistol fundamentals. It's really helpful. Like if you struggle with that kind of thing, like if you actually shoot low to the left or high into the right and all that, it tells you like where you're going wrong there. But with the laser training system, and this is like Kurt pointed this out. Kurt is somebody that we've been working with the Prevail brand. He's like, these laser training systems are not about becoming the most accurate shooter in the world. They're about becoming a killer, right? In the sense that like you're hoping that with having trained with this laser training system that you're going to be the one who kills the other person before they kill you. So it's all about how fast can you draw, how fast can you present, how fast are you able to fire, and then of course like you get that feedback. And we have an app that's also going to give you that feedback, and it's going to show you where you, like how precise you are, how accurate you are. It's going to be able
Right.
to give you you can shoot all day and never have to spend a single cent on a round. You don't have to travel anywhere. You're able to get a pretty good understanding of like what it'd be like to engage a target anywhere from 3 meters out to, I mean, these lasers go pretty far, but I think most engagements are going to happen within 20 meters. So if you can just maintain practice with those laser training systems, then you're going to be a lot better than somebody who never shoots. That's for darn sure. I mean, honestly, training with live rounds would be preferred, but it just gets expensive. It's a,
Yeah.
even for
Yeah, it definitely
somebody,
does.
yeah, I mean, if you're shooting 200 rounds a week, that's 40 something. If you're shooting 9 millimeter, that's about $45 a week. And so you just multiply that out every single week. You know, you're spending $300 a month just on ammo. And 200 rounds is not a lot. Like when we went to go visit Pewview, and I asked him what his like what his shooting situation was like. He's shooting 300 rounds a day. And that's just not 9 millimeter. That's 45, that's 45-70, that's 5.56, like all the different things. So like you just calculate that ammo bill and it's like, close to 70, $80,000 a year just in ammo. So
Yeah, no, that's a lot of money going down range.
I know it's a cool job.
It'd be so awesome.
I just love that people have opinions about this kind of stuff. Like they're just saying it's stupid, but like, and I don't know who they are.
Well, but but we all have them, right? So, and it's great because it it causes us to think and evaluate and make products better.
I don't
You
disagree.
mentioned,
I just think that they're probably either they're the kind of people who aren't shooting often, or they're being dismissive of the fact that somebody else is in an economically or disadvantaged situation and can't go afford to shoot, and this is a reliable training tool. So, like, what would you rather them do?
it doesn't even have to be an economic. It could just be they don't have time to go to the range.
Yeah,
I mean, they might be a dual income household where like they're lucky just to freaking get 6 hours of sleep a night. Like so, having a dry fire discipline or a laser training training discipline like it could just be just that's what they can get in, and so like they're being a responsible firearm owner and concealed carry citizen that, and it's like anything else. I mean, like if you're training for sports, like look at all of the different training gadgets they have in golf
yeah,
that
right.
don't even involve actually hitting a golf ball. I mean, so there's all sorts of ways of getting better at a skill that like may not be going to the rifle range and or the range and just sitting there just sitting rounds down range the entire time. I mean, when I went through the sheepdog response training, I mean, like they taught us about the dry firing drills as well,
Yeah,
and using like using the blank rounds, or not the blank rounds, but the snap caps, where you can practice clearing and things like that. And so there's obviously like if I mean that Tim being former special forces, I mean if they're training people on that, clearly there's a reason why. And Kurt, so was Kurt's feedback like in general, like that on like doing the laser training was actually like an effective
oh yeah,
aspect of training,
yeah,
which
absolutely.
he's retired SWAT, so I mean he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing that when he got them, what he did is he printed off a few of the targets just throughout the house. So he wasn't using the app to watch every single target, although you could conceivably you could have like if you had a couple different phones, you could have every phone focused on each target and you could run a course. But he's like, this is great for people who want to learn how to clear their own home, right? Like you can do that with snap caps, but like what's it like to go through your kitchen and like you're cutting off a corner over here and then boom, you have the bad guy over there. Like snap cap tells you nothing other than like, okay, I didn't flinch, but a laser is going to say, oh, I shot that dude straight in the face, exactly where I needed to shoot him. And he was, it's 15 yards across my kitchen. So those are the
Yeah,
kinds of things that I think the laser training systems are really helpful for. And again, like you said time. I think time is money. So again, that's the economic disadvantage there is they just don't have the time to be able to do that. And
yeah.
I'm just being tongue in cheek here,
I
but
think
it
it's
is
just
important, right?
sure.
Because yeah, for
Yeah,
me, it's 15 minutes to the range, an hour at the range, and then 15 minutes back. Out of my week of 90, like 90 minutes is not insignificant. And then like I never get to shoot rifles here
yeah.
because We have no indoor ranges for rifles in my city, and so the closest one that's outdoors, I have to go to freaking Illinois of all the god awful states in the world. I don't apologize for that at all. And that's 25 minutes away. And there's a good chance that the range that I want to shoot on is occupied. And I can't shoot on it until it's either unoccupied or whatever they do, like in order for me to get over there. So yeah, if I could dry fire at home with a rifle, that's that's time safe too. So
Absolutely. And again, it's like, and I don't know. I still think even if you have the time to get to the range, it's just another way of getting in reps. You know,
mhm.
and this is one of those things where the more reps you can get, like the more you can train muscle memory, like the better off you're going to be, and the more effective you're going to be when you get to the range. And on top of that, a lot of ranges, there are a lot of ranges that will not let you draw like
Yeah,
from your concealed carry. So like there's that too. Like so unless you're like me and you live out in the country and you can shoot on your own place, or you're going to a range like there's a place not too far from me in Marble Falls, that I used to be a member of before I had my own setup, Copperhead Cove. They got tactical bays, and so you can go and you can get the tactical bays, and you can get it creative and run actual drills and things like that, as long as you follow the rules that they have there out on the range, and they've got range officers that are keeping a close eye on things. But like unless you've got like that situation, like how else do you practice like drawing from concealed carry? Because that's what it comes down to, is like how
yeah.
clean and smooth is your draw.
Yeah, and I think that's where the laser training or the laser strike training system, as we have it in Vanish, is really helpful because it's like you can now draw from your holster and then shoot, and then I, people are always, they're bitching and moaning about the Vanish holster not being able to reholster, and I get that. Like, let's just consider that in actual self-defense situation, you don't need to be all that worried about reholstering immediately. There's a few other things that you want to keep in mind. But okay, of course, like reholstering with live rounds with a Vanish holster is a little bit dicey. I'm not gonna lie. Like if you're getting in the range and you're doing it over and over and over again, there's a possibility that you would get lax in your preparation to put the gun back. So that does invite danger, right? Like maybe your clothing gets in the trigger or something happens and there's a possibility of an ND. Now you can do that with the laser strike training system and not have to worry about that, and you're still getting the exact type of motor memory that you would need to unholster and then present and
Yeah.
fire. So I think that any kind of a training aid, even if it's something that we don't make, is worth it. And of course, like everybody's going to have an opinion, but I think that again, training is more important than not. And of course, like you said,
Yeah.
why buy guns if you're not actually shooting them?
Well, yeah. I mean, and also, again, going back to like different tools for different jobs. If you are wanting to have the absolutely most comfortable holster possible, there's trade-offs.
Hmm.
Like you're not going to have like the same type of rigid kydex that like enables you to train the same way. So it's just trade-offs. So it's like if you really want something that's comfortable enough, it's doing it with the realization that it may not have all the functionality that you may like in say another format. But again, it just goes back to what you're trying to accomplish. You know, so I golf. Like in golf, you got a driver if you're driving. You got 3 woods for you're not quite trying to go the same distance, and if you're closer to the green, you use irons. It's just there's different. You're going to get on the tee box like with a 9 iron, unless it's a really short hole. But
Yeah,
I think you get what I'm saying.
absolutely.
So
And I hope that
yeah,
people understand that like when we're talking about the Vanish holster, like at least when I am talking about it, and obviously I've talked about it a lot and I've told a lot of them, I think that people fail to recognize that this is the kind of holster that you hope you never have to draw from in the first place. But you're actually going to wear it because it's not uncomfortable. It doesn't prevent you from carrying. Like I already commented on how I don't use this shadow systems in my daily carry because this sandpaper grip is uncomfortable on my skin. So I created a holster to make carry comfortable. This is not comfortable, so I don't carry it. And again, trade-off. So this has, I mean, I could get as many rounds as I wanted, up to 33 rounds on a extended capacity mag with that. And I traded off by only having 7 in this. But I, again, like it's comfortable for me to wear with this
yeah,
gun, and then I'm good with it. So because of training, there's just a lot that goes into it. And I just encourage people to understand like the most important thing is to carry, at least like realize that you have the fundamental right to do that, exercise that right. It's nothing that anybody can
Yeah.
take away from you. Laws around that, you know, that's what men have told you what you can and cannot do. I think that you should probably realize that you don't answer to men when it comes to self-protection, at least for yourself and your family. Not encouraging anybody to break any laws. I'm just encouraging people to guard their lives when somebody else wouldn't. And at the end of the day, like I want more people thinking that way and exercising their fundamental right to carry, even if they're using what would be termed an inferior product. That being the Vanish holster because it doesn't have like I mean it does have a trigger guard. People don't realize that the newest version, which has been out since May of last year, has had a trigger guard built into it. So there is a trigger guard. It's just not rigid kydex. It's a 0.7 millimeter PU. So go ahead and try and make the trigger like touch the trigger. You can't. And it has other things about it that aren't as solid compared to a kydex holster, but it's going to allow you to carry when you otherwise wouldn't. Like you can't carry your kydex holster wearing gym shorts. And of
No,
course,
dude,
yeah,
I got a whole box of holsters.
right.
Like I got, I got, I've got like different types of kydex. I've got the Vanish holster, like, and it all comes down to it's like carry in the format that like you can use like based on the activities you're gonna be participating in. So like if I'm out on my property, like I run around. It's a different T Rex that like is it's there's no sidecar on it.
Hmm.
It's just the holster. Like and I run that kind of like behind on the backside of my right hip. That's just when I'm out on the property and I'm working because it's out of the way. Like I know I can carry it. If I'm active and I'm moving around a lot, like it's gonna be the Vanish holster. And if I'm in a situation where I'm not going to be active enough, but I'm actually there. So say like on the safety team, like where like I am actually tasked with being a first responder to a potential shooter situation. Like, I, because I'm sitting and it's not uncomfortable to do so. Like, I run that other kydex that I have, but I could actually see the Vanish working really well in that situation too. And I actually have carried the Vanish there before, depending on the outfits that I was wearing. So
Yeah.
I actually have used it in both situations. But again, that was just based on like, all right, like I'm here's what I'm doing, here's what's happening. Like I'm gonna be more active and mobile. Like it's an outdoor service. Like I'm gonna be active and mobile. Like cool, I'm gonna run my Vanish today. Like it's just making sure that I don't ever go into a situation where like I don't have the right thing, so that like that prevents me from being able to carry. Because
Yeah.
like I do not. For me, it is unacceptable to if I'm out with my wife and my kids and other people that I care about. Like I just want to know that that's there because then I'm not worrying about it. Like I used to go into the movie theater, and ever since that shooting took place in Colorado years ago in the movie theater, like it made it where I could not enjoy sitting in a movie anymore. Like odds are, is it ever going to happen? No. But would I ever forgive myself if like I was sitting in a movie theater or any other venue and like somebody started popping rounds off and like I didn't know for a fact that I couldn't protect my wife and my kids? Like I just couldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to live with that.
Yeah, no, I went to this amusement park this week, and of course, like I had to go through the metal detectors on the way in.
Yeah,
That sucked.
yeah,
I also thought
yeah.
how
It's never
crazy
fun.
that was. Like I could have just walked over to the left and somebody could have handed me a gun, and I could have been strapped the whole time. It's like it's
Yeah.
the most ineffective form of security that I could imagine. So again, like the
Oh
whole
yeah.
reason why gun-free zones are just stupid in general. I also I do love the shirt that says like wherever I am is not a gun-free zone.
That's a good one. I think I have seen that once before.
Yeah. But it's yeah, I just want people to exercise that right. And I also want people to understand that like just because we own a holster company doesn't mean that we're not going to advocate the use of other products. I think that's
No, absolutely not.
asinine.
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's the beautiful thing about capitalism. There's a lot of other great products out there, and there's going to be more. Like we try and come up with as many as we can, and everyone else will too. And that just means, and that makes everybody better.
Yeah.
Makes everybody better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. At the end of the day, it's everyday carry. And I hope that people realize that like one, it's a journey. Because when I first started carrying, I didn't carry every time I went out. And then now it's to the point where, yeah, 90% of the time I'm gonna carry. I think the only times that I don't is when I've like gone to Home Depot 6 times in one day, and that sixth time I'm just like, man, I'm good. I think I'll be all right. And that's just me being lazy, right? Like I could easily
Yeah,
just put my holster on, and I don't. So
yeah.
Note to self, like
Yeah, 100%.
get everything done the first time you go to Home Depot,
Absolutely. For sure.
which I think is
Yeah,
impossible.
that's it. I think it is too. We definitely take that one to heart though. We live 20 minutes away from the Home Depot, so like if I gotta turn around and go back and get something else,
Oh,
that's another 40 minutes out of the day gone. So usually that trying to have that list super tight when we get there. But so let's shift the conversation to like the training stuff again.
yeah.
So I know I've talked to you about the sheepdog training that I've done. I think that was, gosh man, if it wasn't $2,000, it was really close. And that was probably two of the best $1,000 I've ever spent. I mean, it was, the jujitsu part of it, like, so, for anyone that hasn't done sheepdog response, there's two places where you train. You train at the gun range, and then you train at the jujitsu school, and you learn, hand to hand tactics, learn, how to isolate weapons, so if someone comes at you with a knife or a firearm, like how to essentially like, isolate the appendage that has that weapon and how to disarm somebody. You get into drills where you actually end up, wrestling and grappling, like where the other person has like a fake firearm or has, a fake knife. And it's crazy. Like it's pretty wild, like how real that actually feels when you're in that scenario with somebody else. Cause a lot of times you're rolling with an instructor or you're rolling with somebody else that you don't actually know, or you've just met in this course. And it's amazing how real that feels. So that and how worked up you get physiologically, like, so adrenaline and, you know, having to be careful with your energy. So it's putting yourself in situations where like it's about as real as it can get without it actually being real. Cause I
Right.
think if you're going to be training, you really want to know how you respond naturally to those situations, because then you really know, like, all right, do I really need to have a lot of reps like doing this particular thing, because I get super worked out and I get out of breath, and like I gas out really really fast. So one, do I need to be in better condition? So it gives you a baseline of where you're at. So there's that aspect of it, and that was fantastic. The instruct man, they have world class, like their cadre is world class. I was fortunate to be at one of the ones. I don't know if Tim makes it to all of them or not. I think he does, but got to work with him one on one. The guy is just an absolute animal. It's cool being around guys like that and getting to see like what that level is like. But yes, they've curated the absolute best from all sorts of different disciplines too. So it's incredibly thorough. And then they do the shooter response drills, and just in the basic, like how to like actually truly like train when you're the correct way of actually, practicing, concealed carry, drawing from concealed carry. Like they evaluate your equipment, and they just show you the right way to like actually practice. And so for me, like it gave me and I grew up shooting firearms. So anybody that's out there, it's like, oh, I grew up shooting guns. Like, yeah, me too. Like my dad taught me to shoot a pistol when I was like 6 or 7. Like I grew up, shooting BB guns really young, and then started shooting rifles like probably around 8 or 9 is when my dad allowed me to start shooting rifles. And then I was hunting by age 10 with them, like with adults. So even having grown up around guns, like that's a very different thing than learning how to actually like operate and work with a gun, like in like those types of scenarios. So it's, for me, like I was super thankful for the training. I'm planning on going back to the next level here pretty soon. But if those are the ones that I've done. We have a couple others that are here in town, that I'll probably go check out as well. But for me, anybody that's out there, I would definitely encourage. There's so many retired special forces guys now, and operators, and retired Navy SEALs, that there's so many different people offering like training like this. Like it's not hard to find at this stage. So I would just encourage anyone to look in their area. But Adam, what have you done? Have you done anything on that level?
Dude.
I know you do. I know you do a ton of training.
Well, I mean, it's
And you,
shooting. I don't train. I should be clear. Like I'm not. I do drills, but I don't train because like I'm doing it at a flat range indoors, so I don't have the option to train a lot.
yeah,
sometimes if I get out to some property or somewhere where there's no restrictions, then I'll try and do stuff that I know would, I could find on YouTube following any of these training cadres that are on there. But I don't train nearly as much as I would like because of the restrictions that I have. But you
Yeah,
asked me what I did, man. It's so funny. Do you remember it was about 12, oh, probably like 14, 15 years ago, the Front Sight Academy?
I do. Yeah, actually, Tim.
No, this is what was his name? Ignacio or something like that.
Okay.
So it was in Pahrump, Nevada, and it was like they did these long form sales letters on WorldNet Daily and on Fox News and everything like
I
that.
do remember these guys.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people think that I mean, it's no longer there. I think it has been purchased by somebody else and they're tried to resurrect it and then also change it a little bit because I think that, I don't know, the quality of the training. My dad took me and my brother and my mom back in 2009. And it was
Okay.
great. I mean, half the time was spent in classroom instruction, and then shot probably 1,000 rounds over the 4 days that you were there. And you're doing like you did a shoot house, you did just like a bunch of drills on again, flat range. That was about it. So that was the one that I did for 4 days. That would be the most intense training that I'd ever done. And it was actually training with a purpose. Again, I don't know how much of it I would take now and say, oh yeah, this is totally great, because I don't know. I don't train nearly as much as I would like. Um, but past that, like sheepdog response would be a good one. There's who is the other one that's all over the place right now?
Oh,
Black site would be one.
okay.
Yeah.
Is Mike Glover's group? Are they doing anything? Is Phil Craft? I know Phil Craft does a lot of training, but I don't know if they do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he is. Mike Glover is doing it.
Yeah, they do. Fieldcraft's all over the place because they actually had something in Illinois a couple months ago, and I was like, "How are you even able to bring your AR-15 over there to train? I don't understand.
Yeah,
I thought they were illegal."
yeah. And
Um,
then there's another retired Navy SEAL out there, Travis Kennedy.
yep.
He's. I think he's doing it as well.
I think that, like you had mentioned, there's plenty of people who are retired. The one thing that I would say is like, you can definitely go through the NRA. I'm not the biggest fan of the NRA in terms of like what they do politically, but they have a ton of accredited NRA training instructors and training classes all throughout the United States. So that's probably something to consider if you're going to vet anybody. Like, are they NRA certified? I mean, again, it doesn't mean that if they're not, that they're not worth going to, but I've seen so many nightmarish trainings that we have posted on our social media to show that like you can get some really bad and potentially dangerous training if you're going with somebody who thinks that they're expert marksman or thinks that they know what they're doing without actually having done it for a long time or been
Right.
certified. But what's Caleb Osborne's Patriot training facility, I think, down in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, no doubt his is good.
yeah. So again, there's something within 20 miles of anybody, I can imagine.
Yeah, and if not, I mean, you could always hop on a plane and do a long weekend somewhere. That's it's accessible. Is I guess the point that we're making.
Well, there's also like I think that there's also the fact that YouTube is out there. So if you have YouTube, you can learn drills and you can train and then you can actually just bring people together. I think the hardest part there is like you don't have an expert on hand to tell you what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong. But I
Yeah,
think that the spirit of the Patriots that we long to be like, this whole 1776 spirit is like, who the heck cares, man? Like a well-regulated militia is exactly what you need to be participating in. That doesn't mean that everybody on the militia is a tier one operator and can just absolutely
sure.
nail every single shot that they make, but at least like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as an American. You're getting the reps in, you're training with a purpose, shooting with a purpose. I think that's the other thing too, is like just don't go to the range to shoot with a purpose. I mean, it's fun to shoot, but it's a lot
Yeah,
different to
absolutely.
be shooting for with an intention. Like that intention being someday I may have to do this in a real life situation. And I hope to God that like all the time I spent dinking around at the range was actually to prepare myself for this one situation. So I think that one, that's free. And you can do that dry fire. You can do that with a laser training system. You can do that with live rounds. So that would be the other thing too.
Yeah, and just to never stop. I mean, again, like you and I are not tier one operators.
No,
Been very fortunate to meet some and train with some, but there's always somebody that knows more, and there's always more that we can learn to be better. And so, that never stops. I mean, it's definitely a diminishing skill if you don't keep it sharp.
I'm a tier 63.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Yeah, I just want to be the best I can be, and you know, be responsible. Just be responsible and be ready.
Yeah.
And I think that's all any of us can do. And I think to your point earlier, yeah, you can hop on a plane and go find the training, but if you can find something local and you can find someone that's legit, like again, there's the other benefit too is like finding a community,
Hmm.
finding other people to train with that have similar, that are in it for the similar reasons, can help push each other. I mean, it's like going to the gym. Having a training buddy will always make you better
Right.
because people push each other. It's doing it by yourself is it's better than not, definitely way better than not doing it. But I think having people that you are in it with is also another effective way of knowing you're going to continue to progress.
Right. Because if the shit hits the fan, then you've actually got your team built in right there.
Yeah,
I think if you're going to a
absolutely.
class, if you go to a class and it's local, maybe you're going to meet some people you know. But like, this is what we talked about with Tyler Bassetti a couple weeks ago about how we have 400 plus million guns here in the United States, which we think is a bulwark against the government. But the problem is, like, if something really did happen, we're at a place where like most people, most men don't have like 5 men that they can go to and be like, all right, let's mount up because
Yeah.
that's just not how our society is constructed anymore. So I think building, and this is something that I need to get better at too, but building out a network of people that you're like, Rough Riders in the truest sense of the word from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders, of course, that would be the government. So don't mean that. I'm just saying. we need
Well,
we need that.
we don't. You never know what's going to happen. It could be another Katrina where there's a massive storm that blasts your city and like people come out and start looting, and you got to be able to protect like yours and your family, and it could be who knows what could happen. I mean, with as open as our borders been, it could be an attack from some other element. It doesn't always it couldn't it doesn't have, it's not exclusively just to protect ourselves, from a government that takes things too far, or seeks to just completely control its population. But there's all sorts of reasons to be ready.
Yeah, one thing that I did want to mention too is like when it comes to ammo and ammo prices, I'm assuming most people who are shooting, well, if we're talking about EDC, we're talking about pistols, most likely. I'm sure some people have a 300 blackout pistol that is their EDC, and more power to that person. But training with real ammo, it is expensive. 9 millimeter being some of the most affordable. I found an awesome website for myself that sells reloads, which are a lot cheaper than factory produced ammunition, and it's called hslammo.com. And you can get rounds for as cheap as, I mean, with shipping factored in, around 22 to 23 cents a round, which is
Wow,
a lot cheaper than you're going to find certainly at the store and either going through Ammo
that's
Seek
crazy.
or I mean actually I found them on Ammo Seek. So, like I'm finally at the point I have like 4,000 rounds of 9 millimeter. I just keep buying it because I like every time I have enough money for it, I'm like I'm just one, I need it. It's never a bad thing to have ammo. And two, like I'm gonna shoot through it. So if I don't keep replenishing my supply, I better, well, I'm gonna run out pretty soon. So that one's hslammo.com. There's no affiliation with them whatsoever. I just have found that I've gone through at least 3 or 4 thousand rounds of their stuff, and the only time I've ever had an issue was like one round was loaded hot, and that was it. Like it didn't do anything to my gun. I just shot it, and I was like, oh wow, that was definitely hotter than the rest of the loads, and it was just about it. And other than that, I mean, they've worked great. I've had way more problems with factory ammo than I have with this stuff, so I've been super impressed with it.
No, that's a great recommendation right there, man. I wrote it down myself. I was not aware of that one.
Yeah, no, it's freaking
Been
awesome.
sandbagging on me, man.
They have yeah, they have 45, 9, 40, 5.56, and just your most popular cartridges. They might have a few more. I got some 5.56 from them as well, and I think that came in just under 50 cents a round, maybe right over 50 cents a round. So I know we're still
That's
dealing with like,
legit.
yeah, elevated ammo prices, but I don't see that coming down anytime soon, especially not with the election coming up.
No, no, just with what's going on in the world in general. So everything's going up. So
Not the price of the Vanish
no,
holster. It's going to remain at 79.97.
Staying where it's at.
for at least the near future. So anybody that wants to grab one, yeah, actually, let's just let people know that our next giveaway is coming to an end on June 3rd. So that is, I mean, by the time you listen to this, it'll have just a few days left. But if you go to vnsh.com/POP, you're able to get a holster for 79.97. But more importantly, you get entered to win our $80,000 Rocky Ridge Chevy Silverado. So every dollar that you spend in this time period is going to give you 20 times the multiple or bonus entries that you would normally get. And then we're going to have another giveaway after this, so don't fret if you listen to this after June 3rd. There's going to be another chance for you to win something
And
cool.
you want to get that Rocky Ridge. That is not your grandpa's Chevy.
No,
It is nice.
yeah. So, well, there we go. I would love to us to get somebody on soon that has a lot more experience in EDC or just in this field than us. Two guys who have made a pretty comfortable holster, but have never killed anybody. So
No, no, and hopefully never do.
hopefully never do. But it might be cool to have somebody like that come on. Not necessarily to
Yeah,
hear
no,
about their
we're gonna
exploits,
do it.
but to hear like, their thinking. I know that we almost had, well, yeah, we can tease that one out. We had somebody scheduled today who has likely done that in the streets of Ramadi. So hopefully they're on in a few weeks. And not to say that that's why we're having him on. He's a good dude, a lot of leadership skills,
Yeah,
true patriot. So having a conversation around these kinds of things and just whatever else he wants to talk about will be a lot of fun.
yeah, no, excited about that one. Yeah, and between now and then, if we'd love any feedback you have for us, you can go to you can go and find us on Instagram, Patriot on Purpose. You can also check me out, follow me, Nate M. Hopkins. I'm also there on Instagram, so is Adam. Um, and then the best place for people to give us feedback for this, though, is at the actual website, correct?
Yeah, patriotonpurpose.com. You can send an email there and it'll come right to our inboxes. It doesn't go to a customer support line, it goes right to us.
Yeah, like any thoughts, any suggestions, or if there's also like if there's someone out there that you think really would be a good guest for us to have, like we're always looking for other people to go find and get them to come on. So we'd love to hear from you.
And of course, be sure to follow us if you don't already on those socials and then subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon, wherever. And if you can leave a rating, that's really going to help the algorithm let people know that, or it'll let the algorithm know that Patriots are here to stay.
There you go.
All right.
Till next time, everybody. Thank you.
Till next time.